was able to give me lots of official conversations and things. They had to be declassified. So there were lots of conversations with Presidents Obama and Bush, and also prime ministers from England and other countries. He has spoken very candidly about Prime Minister Modi, particularly in terms of environmental issues and his support of climate change. At first it was very frustrating, and now I think he's come around to that. It does require some reporting, and I'm curious, both of you are writing political, or have written political books. Do these sell well? Are people generally very interested in their politicians?
Touchwood, my book has got into reprint. It's 4 months now. The Oriya version is coming out this month. The Hindi version is coming out next month. And a film is being made. So I've done well.
Wow. Well done. I have no numbers yet. It launched in November 2018, end of November. So I'm still awaiting. I hear it's doing well, but maybe we'll gauge by how many people go to the bookstore right now. All our books are there, at least both of ours.
More than the sales, what is more satisfying is that you have proven yourself to be an impartial journalist. Okay, when you get flack from both sides, it makes you feel good. And as a journalist and as an editor, and as an editor, a member, and a freshly minted member of this Editors Guild of India, I think, and now that I am in Assam in Northeast, I think it's very important for us to keep stressing that speaking truth to power is absolutely critical in this country. And I say this because right now what is engaging me since I came over to Northeast yesterday is that there is a journalist next door in the state of Manipur who has been jailed, who has been in jail for last 74 days for being abusive to a highest official of the state on Facebook. Now, should he have been abusive? No. He should have been admonished. He could have been reprimanded. You could have done anything, but you can't charge him with sedition. It's abusing you or anyone is not a national security threat. So this is a gross abuse of power. So these politicians, we need to stand up and speak truth to them. And that is what, in my own way, I have done it with Naveen Patnaik. I'll come back to you, let you speak. I'll give you an example of what I have done.
So, one thing which, since we're talking about biographies and they're fascinating characters. I mean, Ban Ki-moon, I'm so looking forward to your work, Betsy, because we've all, followed what he's done, and he was there at the forefront through some very interesting times globally. When I was writing the biography and when I finished, a lot of people came up to me and asked me that, why didn't you go more into the personal life of Mamata Banerjee? Why didn't you talk about what happened in the bedroom, and why she didn't get married, and things like that. Exactly. So they did ask me, and it just did not, like, at least for me, and I'd like Ruben to also talk about how deep did he delve into it, and what you're planning to do. For me, it just did not seem important. When I thought of this biography and agreed to write it with Penguin, my idea was to understand more about the mind of the politician, what makes her, the formative years that created this eccentric, sometimes whimsical, there is a method to her madness, but a very powerful woman politician. For me, that was very important, because in our country, we have, we're still fighting for women to take center stage, and we see that there are lots of issues, and globally as well, of course. We're as women, as a gender, it was very important for me to talk about a woman politician, and who's going to be very important in 2019. I touched upon all the other aspects, her love for art, her so-called painting interests, and how people still criticize the fact that, she's actually not much of a painter, but her paintings sell for crores of rupees. But I never really went into the personal life. Friends, parents, yes, but never into the, that wasn't me. Just somewhere I just stopped. So, but I wonder
But
what
I
you
did.
did.
I did. Not about sexuality or anything, but in one case I did, because our Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik has a love for drinks. He drinks. And that's his private affair. And I should not have intruded into that normally. But then why I did? Because he heads a party, and that party obviously has a constitution. Because when you set up a party, you got to go to the Election Commission of India and register yourself with the party constitution. And that party constitution says that if you have to be a member of this party, you cannot have drugs and you cannot drink. And I happen to know even the name of the brand that he drinks. So I gave that. Right, and obviously he's unhappy about it. But my bad. How can I help it?
I have a response to that. Back when I was a reporter covering the UN, my background is as an investigative reporter, and I discovered that the UN had some serious security lapses, particularly in Libya and Algiers and other countries. And I wrote a piece about the security problems and how this contributed to a massacre of sorts of UN staff, and how Ban Ki-moon's administration was not was inept, I have to say, and I was surprised when he allowed me to write his memoirs, because this was 5 people were reassigned or fired because of this, and that's kind of satisfying as a reporter, because that is speaking truth to power.
Because it's very important, this memoir because you are taking his perspective, and he is part of history, because he was the Secretary General of UN for some of the most critical times of our in last 20 years, right? So it's very important to know his side of the story. But I guess that somebody will do a critique of that memoir also, because there must be a counter narrative to that. So I guess somebody does another investigative piece on that memoir also. Then only you will have both sides of the story.
To add to that, we have an expression, and maybe you do as well, about how journalism is the first draft of history. And to put more information on the record, unauthorized or authorized or investigative, it's helpful to do that, because there are quotes, positions, rationale, explanations for different things that happened or didn't happen, or positions taken. And I do think that's important to put out there, and perhaps you found that as well. This is, in many cases, what makes the character of the person that you are writing about. And I think with both of you as well, people would never buy the book if they weren't interested in that individual. So the more information, the more background or opinion. I think it's the opinion and analysis that I find most interesting, because the facts are kind of out there. And it's also a chance to explain or to discuss various issues, and also personality. I've been able to get into some of that. Just one final thought. He's been married to the same woman for 54 years. They met in high school, and once he introduced her as my wife, who is age appropriate. One thing that people never know about the Secretary General is that, in fact, he has a pretty good sense of humor, and you wouldn't know that because no one would know that, because most of the time when he's quoted, it's about grave human rights abuses or environmental degradation or something impossible to be light about. I think it's lovely to put some of that on the record. As for ideography, I'm not so sure that's accurate, but I can see how, or in our case, but I can see, I have read many memoirs that are just eye-rollingly boring because of that. And the Secretary General has been very candid about his own flaws, and as well as others. So the fact that that's on the record, I think, is also very interesting. And I'm wondering if if you also find that, or what is the most satisfying part of the books that you have been writing? Not just the exposés or speaking truth to power, but what is it that was most satisfying to you?
I think for me it was, as you said, the analysis and the perspective. I have tried to explain the workings of the mind, the workings of how the person, in this case, Mamata Banerjee, what she thinks, how she thinks, what makes her tick, why is she the way she is. At least I have attempted to do it. In India, unfortunately, I mean, I wish we had more Ban Ki-moons in India. We had people like him who were, who want their biography to be written by somebody who's criticized them and who's, investigated as you did and come up with this. I'm sure at that time it must have been extremely impactful as a piece of news. In India, unfortunately, politicians are very sensitive. So are our populations. We as people, we can only see people as good or bad. We see them as saints or demons. We see them as goddesses or sluts. I mean, that's how we think, unfortunately. But there is a real human being behind every politician or an actor or a filmmaker or a sports person. And human beings have flaws. Many of them are flaws which you will never accept, but you still know that there are better sides to them as well. So through my book, at least, I've tried to show the good,